to How I Spent the Apocalypse. Now, if you remember correctly, I started doing these episodes, and if you haven't watched all of them, what an asshole! I started doing these episodes at the beginning of the pandemic, and I started with an aquaculture tank, which has worked really well. Okay, so, if you remember right, I built a box to hang into the tank, and I built it out of wood. And when I show you, your first thought is going to be, oh, the wood bottom rotted out and the bottom fell. But I'm going to show you the bottom. So here's the bottom. You'll notice the wood is fine. What's missing? See that strap and that strap? Remember, I used my old friend plumber's tape to put it together, but if you remember correctly, I used old plumber's tape, which was neither galvanized or aluminum, and the metal rotted out. Now I could just put the bottom back on this, find something besides metal or use galvanized metal, but I decided, as in my old age, I'm tired of constantly having to rebuild everything. So I bought this piece of plastic hoo-ha online. Actually, Lynn got it for me for my birthday. Okay, so it's got a bunch of holes in it. That's not nearly enough holes for an aquaculture tank. That's enough holes for not an aquaculture tank. So I'm gonna have to drill a bunch of holes in it. So that'll be the first thing we do. We get the drill bits out. Okay, so I don't think I showed you this either, because it's kind of something that I just did. Right before the polar vortex, I went and got the refrigerator that died out of the thing, and I'm using it to store batteries in. If I already showed you this, pretend like I didn't, or just fast forward. But at any rate, I put them in there because it turns out the batteries don't do well if they freeze. Which is kind of weird, because you sometimes freeze little batteries to make them last longer, but at any rate, so the first thing I'm going to do, drill some more holes in this, or at least make these holes bigger. So yeah, make these holes bigger. See, easy, I'm just piloting down through the holes that they've had there already, just making them a little bit bigger. Okay, but like I said, not enough. So we're also going to do some here. We'll do some here. Some here. Alright. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Hopefully that'll be enough. Do you think that... What do you think, Lucas? Is that enough holes, or should I put more holes in it? It was pretty open before. I think we should put some more holes. Okay, put some inside. And why do there have to be a bunch of holes, people? Do you remember? Because water runs through this. And if there, and it's going through plants, lava rock, which I forgot to get any lava rock. Oh, I know what I'll use instead. I got stuff instead for lava rock. But anyway, okay, so that should be enough holes. So I put all on the side, I put more in the bottom. Oh, there's a plate. I'll put two more here. Okay, one more there. Alright, so that's good. Alright, so now though, what I've got to do is I've got to figure out, it's got to be similar to what I did before, because the other thing that I did really worked really well. And so I'm going to have to put arms on this, but I don't want to use wood, because again, I'm getting really old and I'm tired of rebuilding shit all the time, which, let's get into that a little bit, because I'm a little tired of some people's attitude about that. Okay, so when you build stuff out of crap, it's not going to last as long as something you built out of new stuff, maybe. Maybe, because sometimes the new shit's not as good as the old shit. So at any rate, people want to build stuff out, if you're going to build stuff out of crap, you're going to have to maintain it. This is not, this thing that I put together out of spit and bubble gum is not going to last forever. Okay, so I put a bunch of screws in here, so one of the first things I have to do is take those out because those things are worth money and I'm not wasting them. That's just stupid. These fasteners are extremely expensive. There's nothing wrong with the fasteners, I just got to take them out. And it's easier to get rid of this one to take it apart anyway. And that, of course, will go in the, I don't know, this piece of that I might can use again. I better hang on to that. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going to keep these to use again. Maybe on this project. I don't know yet. I don't know what I'm doing. Most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. Ain't that right, boys? Alright, so let's just take that apart. Okay, but here's the thing. So I was watching Homestead Rescue, which I love, by the way. But they're always doing some stuff by the skin of their teeth and putting stuff together that I know, and anybody who does this stuff and works with materials knows some of that stuff's not going to last. You're going to have to maintain it. And some of those people will. And other people, believe it or not, will bitch and moan that the thing that they were given for free and the amount of work that these people gave them for free fell apart. Because, of course, when you build something for somebody, you're supposed to maintain it for them forever, apparently. But I'm not bitter by life. But anyway, so I gotta take this. I'm actually gonna try to use this again. Hopefully I can squish it. You remember I squished it in the first place to make it work in there. But it works really good, so I'm hoping I can put that in my new thing too. Because if you remember correctly, this is what the gutter comes out into. And that allows me to clean it and allows the gutter water to go into the tank without making a huge mess and putting all of the stuff that goes into this into the tank. So I'm going to try to get it in here. But anyway, yeah, so it's like, yeah, the entire idea that somehow people are supposed to do stuff, they're supposed to give you their time and their energy for free and then also maintain it forever. And it's supposed to be perfect, even though they made it out of bubble gum and spit. That's a bit stupid. That kind of shit, as my daddy used to say, that kind of shit makes my butt when I take a dip of snuff. I don't know. Anyway, okay, Lucas, turn it off for now. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've pounded on this and pounded on it until it fits in there. And there's a little hoo-ha. Hoo-ha, yeah, that's a real name. In here. It strengthens it, I guess, right here. And I was going to cut it out, and I'm like, no, that's too big a pain in the ass, plus it's probably really holding it from side to side. So what I decided to do is cut a hole out of this instead. So I've got my angle grinder with a very wide bimetal bit. And I'm probably going to have to stand on it. But, you know, because that's what we do. We use tools dangerously. I blame these boys. Okay, so now let's see if we've got a custom fit, right? Okay, so look at that. Custom fit. So now we're actually going to reuse some of those nuts that we had before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an extension because it's like, see how deep that is? I actually need an extension. So let's see if I can find one. That one's not very long. Ah, there we go. There's a nice long one. Okay, so for those of you who don't know the way extensions work, is you take your regular tool. I guess I can use the one I was using actually in it. And it now fits in there. Okay, when it fits in there, that goes right into your tool. Now this one's really nice. If you'll notice, it has a sleeve. If you were putting in regular screws, you could, and you had a regular bit, you could pull that down. It helps hold the screw while you do it. I don't know if this head's going to work in this tool. We're about to find out. Okay, so put that in there, make sure it's the right size, blah, 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 blah. The extension allows me to reach to the bottom of that and put this in there without having to hold it on its side and hope that it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right down into the bottom of that so that it holds us in place. And you're like, why is that important? Well, that's important because literally hundreds of gallons of water will run through this in a rainstorm. And when it does, that can be problematic. If this shifts, if you got plants in there and this shifts, that's a problem. All right, see, fastened in the bottom to this raised spot. You can even see where it comes out. And fastened here. Now, why are these not going to rot out just like, because these are roofing nails. These are roofing screws. They're for doing roofing. So they're made to get wet. So they should last a good long time. All right, that's that part of it. You can turn it off again, Luke. Something porous to go in the bottom of our thing before we put any amount of dirt or leaf litter or whatever we're going to put in it, because we don't want it to just run right into the water. I usually use lava rock, and if you remember right, that's what I used the first time. I'll have lava rock. And all the lava rock that was in there, guess what? When the bottom came out, it's all in the bottom of the 300-gallon fish tank. I ain't getting that. Okay, so these are out of old stoves. It's the same thing you saw me use on my blacksmith shop. And what I'm going to do is they're very brittle, they're very porous. So they should work about the same way that lava rock would. And mostly I have this and I don't have lava rock. And I don't want to go buy any because I was just in town. I don't want to have to go back to town. Let's see if I have another one here. Or if that's it. Or maybe the last one. We've used a lot of them. That was our old stove that we changed out this year. And that's where most of these came from. Okay, so I sent the boys, I was going to send the boys to the shop, the other shop, to get a burlap sack. But as I was telling them this morning, they couldn't find their ass with both hands in a road map. So instead, I'm just going to use this old sheet, which was left over from putting up around the tomatoes this year to keep them from sun bleaching. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them in there. This is the way I like to break up stuff like this and tile and stuff. So I just put it in here and then I'll bring it over to these landscape timbers and beat it on the landscape timbers without losing that and bust them suckers up. Here, you guys want to do that? Dylan, do you want to do that? Would it bring out your destructive nature to do that? Does it let you get a little of your frustration at life? I'm tired of it! Okay, let's see how many little pieces we have. And I think that about does it. See? That should work just about right. We'll put the bigger ones in the bottom and then the littler ones on top, and then we'll finish it up. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Okay. So this blade was perfect to get a notch in that wide enough, but it's not perfect for doing our next application. So everybody knows how to do this, but I just taught the boys, so I'm going to show you too. Okay, so there's a button on the back there that you push. When you push that, then this head locks. When the head locks, you just take your tool and you loosen it. That's not loosening, that was tightening. I blame that on Lucas. Okay, so to take the big one off, we're going to put a thinner one on for metal cutting. Not making a gouging thing, just trying to get some, because of course I want to put metal on. I want to do it out of metal for a very good reason. I don't want to have to do it again. So I want to use metal. And you said, well, but that metal rotted. This metal's not going to rot. This metal is made for fences. And it's very thick, so it should take a while. It will eventually rot, but I'll be dead then and somebody else will have to deal with it, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so the boys, we broke all that up. The boys put those pieces in there. They fit perfectly. And it's good without being heavy, and that's what you want. You don't want it being heavy. Okay, so hand me that. So remember when I had to make my fence taller to keep the dogs away from my chickens? Well, this was the piece of this thing that Julia that Julia threw away and that I'm going to use now. This would be easier if this was aluminum. How do I know this isn't aluminum? How do we know, Lucas? Do you remember? How do we know this isn't aluminum?
Sparks.
It sparks. Aluminum, if you cut aluminum, it doesn't spark. Yes, it would be easier to just go buy something. I can't really afford that right now. I'm not getting a good do on that one. Not yet. Okay, so we're going to tear this down. You're like, we don't need to hear you running that thing. You're right, you don't. Okay, so we're going to tear this down. I'm going to get the pieces that I want off of it. These two long pieces are all I want. So I'm going to get the two long pieces off, and when I do, I'm going to use them to make the arms on this, and we'll do that later. So go ahead and turn it off again. Okay, you got it?
Sure.
Okay, so now we're going to put these bars that we made, we're going to put them up here. We're going to use them as a guide to drill some holes. We're going to drill a few holes. Or not, as the case may be. Okay, so we're going to drill a couple holes. You'll see what we did with that later. And we'll just use it as a jig. Yeah, you could write a mark, but why? It's going to just take a second to do it this way. Okay, and then we'll just... All right. So now comes the moment of truth. Let's see if we can get it in the tank. So go ahead and turn that off, and we'll... All right, so I'm going to have to move my hose temporarily. You can see this is that solar pump that we put in here to run the show. And as you can see, it works pretty good. It's a pretty sunny day. When it's not sunny, or when it goes into the shade, although it's in partial shade right now, believe it or not. When it goes in, and we're partially overcast, and that's how much it works. So it actually works really well. I'm really pleased with it. One of those few things in life of which you can say, oh, that works just like I thought it would. Okay, so what I decided to do is, instead of having two of those armatures that I did before for reasons known only to myself, I'm going to use this one to hold this up, and it'll just be better all the way around. So what we're going to do is, and Dylan, I'm going to need you to hold this in so it doesn't fall down in the drink. So you can see the water stays pretty clear, considering that the filtration plant hasn't been in it for a while. Okay, so Dylan, if you will hold that, I will go ahead. Your sleeve's in the water, baby. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is attach this through the holes I just made to the bigger one of these, so it's going to have to move a little bit for a minute here. Out for just a sec. I hate it when that happens. Come on, go through the hole. Doesn't pay to be blind, people. Alright. Okay, give me a second. Okay, let's slide that over now. Okay, hold that like that, Dylan. Try not to let it slide all over. And, okay, so now I'll cut this. This is aluminum, so it shouldn't rust at all. I just have to watch how much I tighten it because it doesn't have a good tensile strength. aluminum never does. Okay, now I'm going to get calls from scientists that say, oh, if you get this kind of aluminum, it has a good tensile strength. It's like, okay, well, tell me what that is then, people, and I'll buy that from now on. Oh, that's right, I don't buy anything. This is some crap somebody threw away. As you can tell, by the way, it's already been bent 6 times. Okay. Now we're going to connect this one on this side to the thing. And then we'll connect the other ones in those places. And then we'll do the next part. So you can turn it off again like that. All tied back in now. And what I did was I tied to this one that we put in. This one was one that was already here. So I tied to one of the ones that we just made and tied it into the side so that this can't push out. So now it's good and strong. I've got this tied in. Now we're getting ready to fill this with bark, and then we'll put the dirt and the mint back in and put the water back in. So we'll do that in a minute. We're almost done. So you can turn it off now, Lucas. Sticks and some bark in there now. Then we're gonna lay in the mint. The mint that was in there, still perfectly good plants. They just fell all out. Now we have to put them back. They took some damage, but it's mint and it's hard to kill mint. You have to work at it. And we're not willing to work at it, so there you go. So what I do now is on top of that, I'm gonna stick in the mint plants because they like to be in pretty deep and they'll be fine there. So I'm gonna put them in. You can see they still have some of the dirt on them from when they were in here. I'm going to take my metal cutting pliers and go ahead and cut some of the woody stuff off and just put it back in the bed because that woody stuff's dead anyway. All right, so we're going to put all the plants in, lay them in, and then we'll see. No, the fish are not going to come up right now because, believe it or not, even though it's very pretty today, it's still too cold. I did see them one day last week when it got super warm. We had a, because of course we went from super cold to super warm. And so, yeah, this is the one that came out of the side of the thing when we took it up. So, and now we would just get our plants going again. Hope for the best. Because of course, in an aquaculture tank, what happens is the plants are fed by the fish, and the fish feed the plants. So it works really well till the bottom falls out of it. But I have to say this, peeps, that was one of the first things I'd made in 2020 during the pandemic, and it just fell out last week, so not too bad. Okay. So we got that, they're in, and now I'm going to go around in this chicken yard. There's all kinds of dirt that filters in that's got little pieces of leaf in it, which is just about perfect. So I'm going to get a scoop and do that, and you can turn that off for a minute. Just about finished. I'm going to pick up, Dylan, pick up a bunch of sticks for me. And pick up a bunch more sticks and put up in here. On top of all that, the sticks are going to be small. They're going to be loose enough that the mint can come through them. But they're mostly going to keep the water from just washing the dirt right into the water. Does that mean that some of the dirt's not going to wash into the water? Of course some of the dirt's going to wash into the water. No matter what we do, some of the dirt will wash into the water. But the idea is to keep as much out of the water as possible. And the best way to do that is with sticks. You want little sticks because you want it to, like I said, you want the roots to be able to go around them, and they will eventually turn into soil, blah, 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 blah. Let's see what you got, Dylan. All right. So we kind of just lay these in here. And now, the moment of truth. We're going to move. We're going to move the pump thing. Uh-oh. It feels like the pump came off the wall. And it did. Oh, and the tree went behind the cloud too. Okay, so there's a couple of things there's a couple of tricks to doing this. First trick, very simple. I'm just going to tie it to the side. Okay? No trick to that, right? We're just going to tie it in place. The pump is actually on the wall of this with suction cups. So when we got to dicking around with it, we pulled it off. If it goes too low in the tank, it can't get enough suction to get back up. So that's what's going on there. Okay, so we got that there. But we don't want that to maybe pull out or see how it wants to go the other way and all kinds of fun shit like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to do some, wrap it around a little bit more and then connect it to probably right there so that it can't move back and forth, in and out. I'll just connect it through the, I make that sound so easy, don't I? Then when I go to do it, not so easy. But yeah, we just stick that right through there. Come on. Hand me that plier, Dylan. The pliers, they're not in my pocket. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna put that back that way. And then we're gonna, do we have another one of the, don't we have another black plastic thing? The black, they're not actually plastic actually, they're hose things. They come with hoses. I always keep them. Oh, come on, don't do that. There we go. Okay, so now it's tied around that, and it's tied around that, so it's not going to pull this way. But in the heat, these have a propensity to go where they want to go. So in order to make sure that it doesn't go too far one way and then pull out completely and just be running all the water from the tank down the side, we're going to take our hose and we're going to grab it up here, make that tight. And then we're going to sling it to this. And by tying this to this now, and it's all tied together, we're not going to have a catastrophe. You know, we hope. Unless I've done it and it's like going to shoot over the top now. Looks pretty good. You can see there's some crap coming out of it, but not too bad. And like I said, it should do its thing and grow very well and make us some mint again. We've eaten a lot of mint out of it. And it's cleaned a lot of tank for a whole lot of fish. So there you go. And you can see even though it hasn't been on and everything else, the water is still pretty clear in that tank. So it works good when it works. Until next time, don't do this at home.